There we are. Oh wow, that was like a hard transition.
Oh, apparently we were
Did that work?
getting a behind the
Oh,
scenes list. Apparently we were audio that entire time.
What?
I don't know. Oh yeah,
Ashton is there,
apparently.
yeah, getting a behind the scenes
You
list.
fucked up.
The problem is that my Stream Deck, as many times I've tried to fix the buttons on here, they still don't function. So when I press
Good
it,
thing I didn't mention where I lived.
you live in Australia.
I nearly mentioned the suburb when I was talking about the rent increase.
Australia is my
not the entire time. Okay, good.
yeah, Australia is my city.
Yeah, Australia's
Australia is as big as the US. Like that's not going to help.
the continental US. Thank you. Meaning we also have Alaska and Hawaii.
I mean, okay, yeah, let's.
How many people live there?
It doesn't matter. We still have that land, and it is oil rich, baby. It is oil rich, and we get to look at the part of Russia nobody cares about. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to deal with Serbia. We just feel bad for the people that live there. It's like, I'm sorry, that's your president. And they're like, we know. There was a 4-year period where they were like, bro. And we were like, yeah, okay. But
Did you know that Russia actually had a colony in California?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but I was not aware. Must have been a while ago. Because Cali has been part of the U.S. since the early 1800s. So
I mean, then the Mexicans bought it.
I was okay. Thank you, Green. I'm glad I'm not crazy. I was like, that's not right.
Yeah, it was like,
right. I'm not going to correct you, but that's
Serbia?
Not right.
Siberia. Oh, did I say Serbia?
Yeah.
Siberia. Sorry.
I'm glad my instincts weren't wrong.
Serbia is one of the
is a country that's in Europe. Yeah,
that you bombed, you know.
Yeah, no, I didn't do anything. Listen, the only bombs I'm dropping is either these jokes or, well, you know, the putrid air in my room. So,
though, in all honesty, saying, "Oh, that's the country you bombed," doesn't really narrow it down for the
you know, it does. It does. There's what, like 175 countries. That takes like 25 off the list. You know, like
Scott, with what you were saying before, just then, something I've learned on the CPAP machine is I'm learning what foods make my house toxic.
Did you say CFAP machine?
CPAP. CPAP.
Okay.
Yeah. It pumps air into down like into your lungs, but it also can pump air elsewhere.
well, when extra air goes in, it's got to come back out.
Extra air comes out.
It pumps the air down under.
Oh, well, you got to think of it like it's like fracking, you know?
No.
Body fracking.
It's natural gas, baby. It's natural gas. Oh, that's funny. Norway, I hope you're not referring to bombs being dropped in your country.
No.
Because you're one of the 25. You know.
Listen, Norway has oil though, so they are afraid. You know.
Yeah, I was actually curious with what's going on with Germany and Russia and everything right now. If Norway was going to kind of take a step back or aside of their current initiative to reduce their output of oil and whatnot, because obviously Norway's trying to be as green as possible. If they're going to like slow down their shutting down and their move away from fossil fuels as a means of wealth, if they're to make sure that they have enough available for Germany to buy at a decent price because of Germany's current energy crisis. But
I mean, the gas price dropped again below of what it was before the Russians started the war. So.
But part of that is because of like the extra reserves that were put into place and a bunch of the other taxes that were put into place.
Yeah, the oil companies are still taking massive advantage of the situation. So
but the German government bought a portion of one of the German, like they bought like a third of one of the gas companies that exist. Like they actually now have a huge investment into one of those companies by owning a portion of it. Like they took a lot
they didn't buy it. They just requisitioned it because it belonged to Russia.
Or whatever it might be, right? Like
Uh.
however it worked out. But they took a lot of, like, they saw there's something that they were planning on dealing with, what, by 2024, 2025, you guys were trying to move away from that shit anyways. It's just
No.
Russia attacked too soon.
Yeah. But we're not here to discuss politics as we usually do.
Game time.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about politics out of game. Let's talk about politics in game. So,
Yeah. Kill those damn Betharians.
The last thing you told us is we're going into the Terminus systems.
yes. Your commander, thank you, Britt. Sorry, I don't know if I said that word. Thank you. She brought me breakfast. So anyways, what was I saying? My apologies. The last thing your commander, the Torium, was saying to you was the first mission you have is going to to satisfy those that have invested into this research of technology, and it's kind of like where they leave it from there. They say so. The four of you will be the ones going on the mission together with, again, a built-out VI suite that'll help to handle the mission. It'll be in 2 days' time that you are going to launch on your vessel on the Naya, and you'll get the rest of your mission details just prior to the launch. At this point, are there any other questions as to responsibilities, details of the craft, and so on? When there's a pause, when there's a pause, you can still speak afterwards. When there's a pause, she chimes in and says, then today, you will return to your normal quarters, and you will stay with them, and consider tomorrow a day of leave. Tomorrow evening, you'll be reporting to different quarters to spend the night. You'll wake up the following day, and you'll spend that whole day in secluded quarters where you'll be able to study the schematics and the details of the vessel, so you are comfortable and adequately prepared to take it from the docking yard. We'll go over those other details when we get to that timing. This is your last opportunity to ask questions before you are dismissed.
What resistance should we be preparing for?
There is a pause for a second. You guys can go ahead and roll a sense motive or insight or whatever the hell it's called in 5e.
Inside. Damn it. Oh, shit.
-1 critically succeeds. I was like, do you all have negatives? No, just one.
No, I have positives.
All right, cool.
I just rolled like ass.
So, Jake, you could actually pick up that despite her, poker face or whatever she has going on, there's a little bit, like, you can see there's a bit more to the response than what she says. And she says, what kind of resistance? Her response will be active.
Will we be getting more in the reports before we start?
You will certainly know all details before you arrive in the system in question.
As long as we have adequate time to prepare, I see no issue.
She nods and says, then unless anything else, you're dismissed. And at this point in time, your character's welcome to hang back and ask a more private question if you wanted to or so on. But you can see that the Quarian does get up, and she'll actually go over to each of you as you're leaving. So whoever walks out first will introduce herself or whatever. So I don't know if anybody's going to hang back or anybody's going to leave. Who'd be the first one out?
I would.
Okay, so you get up and you go to leave. The Quarian moves quickly, like one of those oh, hold up, to catch up to you, and she'll actually extend a hand to meet yours and say, I honestly, Captain, let's call it Captain Nix. I actually wanted to meet with you specifically for a moment, since I'm going to be under your command as we'll call honorary member of your military for this upcoming mission. I thought I should introduce myself. My name is Sivatasar Vas Miwal, and I did read your record and saw the considerable number of missions that you've been on, at least what I've been allowed to read. it's going to be an honor to serve unto you, sir.
Thank you, Siva. Are you here on pilgrimage?
She nods and says, yes, I can give you some more details later on, but in short, yes.
I figured we don't really work much with the migrant fleet.
There's like again, roll a sense motive. Nope. Can't read. It's hard to read. Actually, you should roll with disadvantage anyways. It's hard to read them because like you can't even see their face through the mylar glass that's on their suits, right? But either way, so yeah, you don't get anything off of her. She goes, indeed, and maybe that will change at time. But things being as they are, I'm glad for the opportunity to work with you here. If there's anything you need of me, let me know, sir. And she'll give
that.
like a and step to the side for you.
Yeah,
The others would have heard her introduce herself, and she would just shake each one of your hands as well.
He would introduce him to C.S. Novik. Looking forward to taking her for a drive. You've flown her out yet?
I've been in it. I'm capable of piloting, but I've not actually flown the ship beyond basic landing and takeoff procedures and light work. It's actually what I'm going to be heading to after this is combat flight training. It was decided last minute to pull the secondary pilot to reduce the number of crew. And so I will have to act as the secondary if need be.
Okay, well, I look forward to flying with you. Enjoyed the training. It's intense. And he sort of gets up a bit and stretches.
She says, no pressure. Haha.
He would probably start like pulling up schematics of the Hesperus? Hyrax. He would start putting up like the most up-to-date schematics of them and comparing the older versions with the newer versions. It's just going over them in his own thing.
Yep. Kind of like I imagine just downloading them from the HaloNet or whatever it's called.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
what is it? What is it called? No, HaloNet's Star Wars. I can't remember what it's called in Mass Effect.
I was gonna say it earlier, and so I had it ready, and then I immediately forgotten.
Well, the internet.
Yeah, it has a name.
You download those and have them like well, you probably wouldn't be wearing a helmet here, but you could have the eye thing, right? Like the Google Glass.
Would, actually, yeah.
You know, and you can do that, and then same thing to Anno's character. She will extranet. Thank you. She'll introduce herself to you as well. Does your character say anything? Oh, you're muted. That's why it's blinking.
Is shaking hands like a normal thing to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see it a lot in the Mass Effect series.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a very humanized game. Let's call it like that.
I mean, a lot of sci-fi, you kind of have to give leeway for that sort of stuff. Like the chances of an alien race having a military system that has ranks like this is very unlikely.
Well, I mean, we don't know though, right? And moreover, these are all bipedal creatures. So the intimacy of a touch without being too intimate could, that's not that strange, right? Lots of animals. I mean, they could go dog style and sniff each other's anuses. Maybe that's how Batarians do it. You know what I mean?
That's
like
Elcors, isn't it? The pheromones and stuff is how they do emotions.
That's true. Yep.
I imagine that Quarians very much don't shake hands. They are COVID people, so.
No, but their suits are very protected.
Yeah.
Any case,
maybe
the second their suit is damaged, they're like everything is a threat.
Yeah.
They are the real bubble boys.
They really are.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, shake hand says, "My name is Malevius. I'm gonna be your well, medical and well, overall engineer, I guess.
She nods and says, yeah, I saw that your training said that you took several of the preliminary courses of Quarian anatomy and understanding how our suits work differently to those that are typical for the other Citadel races. If I may make a request, I'd suggest you brush up on it. But I actually wanted to, just inform you that even though the AI suite, sorry, not the AI, sorry, the AWS is going to be shut down during times of quiet flight, understand it is just as robust as you would hope or expect, considering the danger of the mission that we're going to be going on. So you need not worry about the capabilities of the vessel.
I've dealt with Batarians before. They're a rowdy bunch.
She says, indeed they can be. And should we come across Batarians, then I will be happy to divert to your expertise and that of the captain.
Well, best way to deal with a Batarian is usually at gunpoint. From my experience, pirates and such. But other than that, you might make it sound as if we're expecting something else. But I guess everything has its time.
You'll hear from across the room. Hey, if we want to lay low, bribery works.
She says, I don't think diplomacy is going to be an option. And then, like, everybody, those that remain, because Jake's character already walked out, you see that the Turian commander gives a sharp look from across the room, and then she says,
"She said too much."
But I must go and begin my combat training. God forbid we have. Sorry, I forget what they call the Turian. The Quarians have like a word for their spirituality. I forget what it's called, but more or less a translation of. She says, God forbid our pilot gets injured and we have to rely on me. And then she'll excuse herself and leave.
I'm gonna just shoot. Sorry, what was your character's name again? Where is it? Oh, I can't see. What was your? I know your character.
Valerius.
Valerius. He'll look over at Valerius, give him a look like, "Oh, that was interesting."
Yeah, would give him. I just realized that the nickname for my character would technically be Val.
Val works.
Yeah. Any case,
we know a few Vals, don't we?
A lot.
Let's not make it the same end.
And he would probably just walk over and just, well, see you on the ship, and he'll walk out.
We'll give a like last look to the commander and like giving a knowing nod, like in the sense of understood. It was like too much was said, but that was not my intention, basically.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
And then just leave as well.
Cool. Oh, funny enough, earlier when we were looking up what the ship systems were, like right before we went live, I forgot I had a handout of the ship systems in the in Roll20 already to make life easier. That's funny.
Oh yeah, right. I see it now.
Cool. So let's so you guys go your separate ways. Is there anything of notes that you would care to mention, go over, or what have you, or we kind of like skip ahead a day? Like, do your characters want to interact with one another? Any questions? Anything you want to look up aside from what you're mentioning to brush up the schematics while you're here on the ship? Just like any details. This could easily just be a skip and a jump, but I'm giving you the opportunity in case there's something that you didn't think of beforehand or whatever.
He'd probably look over his logs of his trainings on the thing, specifically ones he maybe scored poorly in or even failed, and look at what he did wrong in those trainings, that sort of thing. Just trying to make as good of a first impression on the first flight as possible. Okay.
So more or less just trying to like a brush up or what have you to get yourself kind of prepared. Would you also try to go through like a flight simulator sort of a thing?
Probably. That would be the final step, but he'd be looking at the other things first.
Sure. Then because you're going to spend like so much time like really diverted into this kind of like flight training and making sure that you make a good impression your first time out with it, I'm going to say that your first time making this piloting check, you're going to have like a nice advantage because you're going to be it's one of those like you're going through the routines over and over again, and maybe even checking out some extranet like how-to video.
Like
All right, gamers, here we go.
No, it's just like a Turian with like this Indian accent.
Oh, like pretty much anything I look at that has like whenever I have issues with my camera or whatever, most of the content creators happen to be of Indian descent, which is so funny because I'm like, there's millions of people that stream and use cameras, but like the easiest videos to follow tend to be like that. So
Yep.
And then that like even is better than like Elgato will put in an official video how to do stuff.
No, they make
and
good
it's
stuff.
trash. No, well, I'm saying the Elgato videos are not very
I meant,
yeah.
I meant, yeah.
Random
Not
user
Elgato.
X. Somebody with like
Exactly,
only
yeah.
like, 18 subscribers. And I'm like, God damn it, this is good.
Yeah, that's often the case. I'll find like a video that solves the exact issue I have, and I'll have like fuck all views, and I'm like, how? This is amazing.
No, hold on. Have you gotten to have you had the opportunity to like find a video that is very helpful and you appreciate the video, but also have that painful realization when you see the scraggly little arm and you hear the high pitched squeaky voice of knowing that's like
I've
a
seen that
13-year-old
before,
boy.
yeah.
And you're like, I'm being explained this tech by a 13-year-old.
I have unfortunately had that experience.
Oh, so funny.
I usually listen to Rage to the Machine when I like Rage Against the Machine.
One of my favorite bands. So anyways, yeah, you're obviously doing that test. I'll do that for you. Anno, Jake, anything that you want to say, or are we just skipping this portion, going to the next day we start? Yeah, you're put into your private quarters.
Nothing for me.
Yeah, so I mean, Valevius is just gonna check over his equipment, making sure everything is there and functional. So because obviously when you're out mission, it's gonna be hard to requisition stuff. So basically that. As to mechanical stuff itself, not really. I don't think. Just double checking everything, and I guess making sure to refresh his knowledge on Quarians.
Okay. And Jake, nothing? Cool. So he's probably like, oh, well, I've done a lot of shit. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my leave time on a military facility.
I just realized.
They said they'd give us everything before we go, so I'm not going to go looking.
Okay.
I
sense to me.
just realized I chose Invictus as my home world. I chose the touring in Australia, the deserts with the few jungles. Oops.
I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense.
Oops. Continue on.
You live in the outback, eh?
Apparently.
Now we have to have you have to put on your proper Bogan accent for role playing this
Nope.
character. Oh, come on.
Nope.
Come on. Go on,
Not
give us a
happening.
taste.
I'm gonna let you know. I can't do one.
Jake?
Are you saying Jake can?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've heard Jake do one before deliberately.
Possibly.
Maybe hear your Bogan?
Maybe not right this second though. I've been put on the spot now. Now I'm all nervous.
Yeah. Let's just fast forward time.
All right. So when you guys the next evening, so not tonight, but the next evening, when you finally are moved down to the area, it's gonna be brought into like the flight deck where you have two soldiers standing on either side of the doorway. So when you're admitted in, they let you in, and you go through like a short hallway that has a few more series of doors. Not soldiers in front of each one of them, that'd be crazy, but a few more series of doors. You can imagine the reason for this being like some of them being like a decontamination, for anything that might be on you from other parts of the ship as you're going into like a science wing. You can imagine some of it being what's what I'm looking for, making sure that like in case multiple doors happen to be open as somebody's walking, nobody can accidentally see what's all on the inside. Extra security features, choke points if need be for defending this area should somebody be breaking onto the ship, blah, 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 right? Anyways, when you finally get through and get to the other side, you can see that the area that you go into is just going to be like where your, different rooms are for both education and for relieving and for sleeping and like quarters and whatnot. That's inside there. There's going to be other like hallways that go down to other more scientific research areas that just has nothing to do with your characters, and so you'll never open those doors, but you get the general idea that that's where it's going to be going. But at some point in time, you'll be walked down the hallway that has that like mylar glass, look down onto this like hidden bay area. Now, while this ship might have 2 different docking bays for 2 different types of ships that it has at a time, you can only see into one of them at any one point in time. And so the hallway that you happen to be going down would be the docking bay down for this ship that you're looking at. And so you get to see the Naya for the first time. And what's amazing about seeing the ship for the first time is that because it is so new, it looks genuinely like beautiful. There's not like that scuff marks on it from, at least not really noticeable from way up here, scuff marks on it from random debris in space happening to bump into it. We have freshly painted sort of a thing, right? Because you can imagine even a fleck of dust in space that's been traveling, however many kilometers a second, traveling eventually hits the hull.
Scraping the paint.
Yeah. So this thing's only done a couple of like jobs out and so on and so forth. But at the same time, as much as the paint may be fresh, because it is a retrofitted ship, the fresh paint is a camouflage in and of itself. Because you can see, this is, I imagine the only person of the 3 of you that would pick this up when you're looking at the ship would be Tesh's character. The paint job is made to look like that of a typical Hyrex ship, right? However, with closer examination of your character, you would notice, because they talked about how they reskins the whole ship so it's slightly distorted. Like staring at it after a while, you're like, oh, I see this part's bigger over there. Da-da-da. But they literally use the way that light reflects off of, so they painted in different hues and different ways to almost give it that like slimming kind of feature. Or
yeah, so it almost looks like the same dimensions as the normal Hyrex, even in spots that might have an additional compartment on it. They've tried to make it look recessed or something like that.
Yeah, it's in Hollywood what they call baking.
Yeah.
Right? So
textures as well, I believe.
Yes, it could be a myriad of details that they would use to make it look like this. You can't use texture too much when you're going through different worlds, because you want to make sure that you can handle the entrance and the exit of different atmospheres. But yeah,
I meant texture as in like game textures, model textures.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
Thing, yeah.
Yes. My apologies. All right, cool. So I thought you meant like octopus style, but either way, so moving on. So that's kind of like you finally get to see the ship and see what it is. And again, to 2 of you, it's okay, cool. It's a Hyrex class ship. Yay. But Tesh's character is able to absorb a little bit more there. When you finally get to like the different schooling and the schematics are put before you, there are some basic details that all of your characters have to study, which is boring as hell, and then more specialized things that your characters are meant to study based off of like what their jobs are. So it's at this point in time, however, that you also would get your flight path and where it is that you're supposed to go. And so one of the things that you'd pick up, and I imagine it's specifically Tesh's character would be the first one, unless maybe Jake's does because he's a commander and he has to be overseeing the overall project. Tesh's character being the pilot would look over the flight path of what's supposed to happen. And when you look that over, that's where you see for the first time the telltale that something might be amiss. You're not just going to the terminus systems. You are going to the terminus systems, but your flight path of the Valak, wait, no, what's it called?
I have it written down.
Was it Boetia or something?
Talic.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay.
Your flight path of the Talic brings you into the terminus systems, through the terminus systems, and inevitably back out of them at a later date. That later date being, looks like it's plans to be in the terminus systems for a few weeks. However, your departure from it is in the terminus systems just alongside its pass by the Perseus Veil.
Oh. Is that the
Isn't that gas
Geth?
space?
Yeah, is that Geth space? Ooh.
It is an area of space full of dust and pre-planet, pre-star, post-planet, post-star debris that makes it so sensors can't properly see through it around it. You can't really penetrate it for the sake of studying unless you're on the other side of it.
Yeah. Novak's gonna sort of like look up and give the Quarian a look. Just
Oh, no.
Yeah.
While you guys are doing this kind of studying, you'd either be in your own little area or maybe
okay.
using like the study space of the classroom that's there. So you could potentially have all three of you together unsupervised. However you wanted to have your character doing their studying. Quarian would not be here for this.
Oh, okay. I'd probably be doing it in the common area then, the class
Sure.
area you said.
So assuming that the other two characters there, you look up at the two of them. Go ahead.
Huh. Well, this should be interesting. You see where we're going?
Believus would
Geth
probably
space.
would shift a few papers and look at it. And then as Bruto says it, he looks up and says, Why gas space?
It's a good
Better
question.
to test stealth against than. Yeah. Let's hope it works.
Well, having a Quarian doesn't really help with the Geth, I guess.
Well, I mean, doesn't. I'm sure she knows a lot more about the Geth than we do.
Well, it's gonna be interesting for sure.
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen Geth fighters in action yet. He sort of says half jokingly, without it may not land to you guys, but it's like, yeah, right, a little more serious.
Yeah, I give you character a look, but he doesn't say
Yeah,
anything.
Believus as well. Like,
I mean, ideally we won't see them at all, but just in case, I'm excited.
wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it would mean we failed if we would come in contact with them, right?
But I think that's the plan.
Yeah, true.
Well, I guess let's focus on what we have to do then. And then we'll be back before a rotation, I guess.
All right.
Hopefully it goes all smooth.
Going more into the nitty gritty real quick, one of the things that you'll notice, Anna, with looking over the AWS and the different systems that you have there, is this doesn't just have a built out AWS, which is the I think it's like artificial intelligence warfare or whatever the hell it stands for. It doesn't just have a fully built out one. It actually has a really, really good system designed for even while you're driving, visible, if you will, to reduce the likelihood of sensors being able to pick up your being there and kind of dispersing the different tracers that you would kind of like fly behind the ship that somebody might be able to pick up after they fly by where a ship may have been, of kind of like dispersing the electromagnetic fields that you would be putting off. It does a really good job of making it so it's difficult to detect the ship, and makes it so that hacking into your computers are a complicated thing to do. It would require somebody who's very skilled to be able to hack their way in. While your defensive measures are up, the only way that you can counter hack back into a ship because of how robust they are is if they successfully get into yours. Then you can use that as like a back door to get into their systems, right? Otherwise, you can't attack and defend at the same time because of like how, again, robust the systems are. They'll divert mostly to defense rather than offense in that scenario when it comes to like systems fighting each other. Jake, again, you have a guardian system here. For simplicity, the way that you have to think of what a guardian system is, it's the system that you use for dogfighting. So you don't have ballistics that you're firing off into space against some ship far away. The guardian system for ship-to-ship combat literally is for dogfighting. So the ship's capabilities of defending itself is going to be up in the face of whatever it is that it's fighting, right?
Yeah.
So that's understood. And then Tesh, maneuverability, all that stuff, it's exactly as you would expect. So once you kind of finally understand this, you can see that when it comes to details of the flight path after that, unfortunately, all those details at this point in time are currently redacted. You guys are able to do the different studies, and eventually you're pulled into a meeting with the commander that you had met beforehand. The Torian comes in here with the Core and everybody as well, so all 5 of you together again. At this point in time, the Torian, kind of like getting the meeting started, would say, and again, this is inside your like secluded area on the ship, not back where you had met, 2 days prior. At this point in time, you've had ample opportunity to look over all the details of the mission. I'm sure there are immediate questions. Any questions that you feel are so pertinent to ask prior to my explaining the mission details? I'll take that as a no. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, he would stay silent. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a no. So then it's probably already been understood that you are going to be being relieved, taking your departure at the edge of the Perseus Veil. We have another experiment that's going to be going on at that time to make sure that this departure is going to be covered. So not only will it not be known to the people that happen to be on the ship, but should we have any, shall we say, unwanted guests in the terminus systems, their attention will be pulled from it as well. We don't need you having any tails. Your mission comes with 3 tiered tasks. Each task should only be approached if the previous task were successful. The first test that we're doing with this ship is the test of the AWS systems and following the predetermined flight path based off of decades-old information that we have. We need to know if we can not just puncture through the Perseus Veil, but also travel in deep, make sure I say this right. It's not terminus, it's Tikkun. If we not just puncture through the Perseus Veil, but also be able to travel in deep space in that sector to all the way over to Tikkun's the Tikkun system. The first success would be coming outside of the veil without being detected and finding all the way over to the Tikkun solar system without being detected. If you were able to do that, that would already be a mark there. Should you be discovered, should you be in any degree of danger, you will immediately abort the mission and you will retreat back beyond the Perseus Veil. Once you come out the other side, you will raise an alarm for us, a distress beacon for us to come and find you. It is important to note that your distress beacon is set to a very specific channel. We cannot have a generic distress beacon. In the terminus systems, that could lead you as being sitting there and waiting for Batarians to happen to come across you. But should you have a system failure, you do have a general distress beacon to use as needed. Try to avoid it. Try not to fail in the first place. Now, should the first part of your mission be successful and you're able to find yourself all the way over to the Tikkun system, the second part of your mission would be to find your way to one of the... trying to think of the name of the orbit cloud. Fuck, what's the name of the cloud of debris that's around the solar system? It's like the asteroid field.
I mean, it's the asteroid. I don't know. In a solar system?
Yeah. Cloud of icy rocks at edge of solar system. Sorry.
Yeah,
my brain's not working because it's early.
I know what you're talking about there.
Oort cloud. So, your next, the beginning of your next tiered mission would be to find a large icy rock on the Oort cloud at the edge of the Tikkun system. From there, you will find a place to rest, and you'll have your ship drop in temperature. From there, the rest of your second tiered mission is going to be your one of the most difficult ones you have to do. When you release out of the Oort cloud, you're going to make your way into the system, and you're going to have to fall into stealth mode. From there, you're going to fly not just through the Tikkun system, but if it is possible, all the way over to the planet of Ranok. You guys would know that this is the home world of the Quarians. You already have a predetermined landing station, predetermined landing zones based off of which one you feel is the best at the best decision at the moment. So they kind of like pull up the planet of Ranok with old surveillance from like, we're talking, over 100 years ago.
Pre-Quarian Geth War, I imagine.
Well, yeah, pre-retreat, yeah.
Pre-retreat, yeah, that's the one.
And probes have been sent in, but each one of them have been destroyed while only sending out back small amounts of data and so on and so forth. Anyways, so you see the planet there. You'll notice that these different zones that are predetermined for landing areas, these are all hot zones. They either happen to exist in areas where there is active or near active volcanic activity on Ranok, or over near the hottest of springs. There's an area during the time of year that you're going to be approaching where it's a borderline hellscape near the equator. Understand that Ranok is a arid world. So you're going to have to go to one of these hot spots, and that is where the ship will rest, and you can effectively eject your heat while hopefully not drawing any attention to yourself from the enemy combatants that might happen to be in the area. Now, should phase 2 be successful, at that point in time, you can return home. You are entirely welcome to return home. However, there is a third phase that if you are feeling comfortable, confident, and everything has gone swimmingly until that point, that you may choose at your own discretion to engage in. And that would be surveillance of Ranok. We have little to no information about the Geth as things stands today. Most of the information is either from a small skirmish wherein we were able to acquire none of the hardware left behind in a decisive battle, or is over a century old from old probe technology going into the Perseus Veil and looking. Any additional information that you can acquire will give us the information, so any additional information you can acquire will give us the tools we need to combat with the Geth with our inevitable confrontation with them. We all know it is only so long until the Geth grow confident enough to push beyond the Veil in great numbers and not just probing. Now I open the floor to questions.
If things go wrong, are we to scuttle the ship?
By scuttle the ship, you mean destroy it?
Yeah.
Out of game? Okay, yeah. If things go wrong, that ship is your key home.
I mean, very wrong.
I want you home. However, we all know what kind of mission this is. We cannot leave anything behind for the Geth. As far as it's understood, the Geth haven't developed technology like this because, being non-organic creatures, their ships are already able to run relatively cold, making it harder for us to detect them than it is for them to detect us. A concept Sifa Tassar here was able to discern herself, and why we were able to begin the research of this technology. We don't need them taking the idea and advancing it.
Understood. Well, what about contact? I assume we are to avoid any contact.
Avoid as best as possible. I want you in, I want you out, with all raw data that you could acquire without them ever knowing that you're there. If you were to become detected, immediately I want you to abort the mission and evacuate. If things come to combat, you have full access, you have full command. She says, looking over at Captain Nix, you have full command to do what you feel is necessary to get your crew out alive. And then, of course, we've already discussed a potential ending of this mission.
Are there, perchance, any specific sites we should check if we manage to get on planet?
They'll actually look to Sifa, and she will chime in while sitting and say, I have a few places of interest that I thought we might be able to look into. Very much depends on where it is that Captain Nix decides to land the vessel for what we might or might not be able to look into. But these are details that will have to be made, decisions that will have to be made after we land while we're ejecting the heat, and nothing that can be done now.
It's definitely going to be interesting.
She, so the commander, she says, it seems as though you've all had a moment to let it sink in. Do we fully understand the mission parameters, our responsibilities?
I have no further question.
Same here.
Mm-hmm. She looks over at specifically Nix.
I'll nod.
Not? Okay. Then let's discuss the flight path. And then she kind of like pulls up the schematics and what behind the Perseus Veil based off of blah, 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 blah. But again, like it's old information that they're working off of, you know? She'll even say the most recent probe into through the Perseus Veil was less than a decade ago. At that point in time, we were able to discern that while they do actively scout the inner like sphere, so more or less like their edge of the Perseus Veil, they don't have a it's not like they have a completely encapsulating network that looks over it. The amount of space that the veil is able to contain is too vast for them to be able to watch all of it. Working off of an algorithm put together by a few VI, we believe we know a area to puncture through that should be safe. This will allow you to get through and navigate yourself to the Oort Cloud. From the Oort Cloud, you will take things from there. From there, we also have a path for you to take based off of what our VI systems have determined are the most likely blind spots, or at least less surveyed spots that exist inside the Tikkun system to begin with. And then they kind of like walk you through those details that are too boring for us to go over. We've already done rules talking today. So that being said, she kind of like goes over like what the different things are, so on and so forth, And then once everything's done, assuming your characters don't have any more questions, which I assume not, giving you 3, 2, 1.
Nope.
She'll then actually bring you guys on a field trip to actually go down and through the air lock-ins, go onto the ship itself for the first time.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, of course, following, but remaining a bit like Valevius would be in his own thoughts at the moment, like more thinking about all the options. Well, I assume that Tesh character is going to be a bit more happy at the side.
Oh, 100%. Not only is this like a chance to fly an experimental ship, but he's also getting to properly prove himself against something that's like a huge, like the Geth. That's like a oh boy thing.
So yeah, you guys are sorry. When you guys go walking onto the ship, one of the things that you would hear You 1 second. Yeah. So when you guys step onto the ship, but sorry, my brain is not working. When you guys first step onto the ship, you'll hear like kind of like a voiceover coming from like an intercom, if you will, like a PA system. That's what I was looking for, the PA. Oh, you have a PA system will come on and kind of like greeting you guys, of course, in Torian. All these conversations have been greeting you onto the ship, like, welcome, Commander. And then it says, like, Captain Nix, and it's like you guys different things as you go on, because you can imagine that whatever this VI is that kind of like scans you over already has like your profiles or whatever put into place, so it knows what you should have access to and so on and so forth, which is nice. But then it also will say to the Quarian, it'll actually say Kila Salai, Sivatasar. But one of the things it says Kila Salai, Sivatasar Vas Naya. And like, so it's one of those things that when it says that, Sifo will stop and look up at the intercom and say, "What did you say? Is it not a Quarian custom to have the last word of your name be the title of the ship that you are going to be assigned to?" And she will very sharply respond and say, "I travel on the Naya. It is not my home." And it's just one of those like little, you pick up that kind of like edginess of like, how dare a VI make an assumption off the blah, 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 because you know how Quarians are.
Rush Cruise. Oh, not actually.
Just going full Karen against the PA system. What did you say?
Oh, you know what's funny is, you know how you clicked Ace into chat and chat can see it? They can see it over on Roll20 chat through Firefox, but for me it says Ace background pilot feature, and then it's all blank. I have to highlight it to be able to read it.
Oh, it's not actually on the Twitch stream for some reason.
Yeah, it is. It's right there on the stream.
What?
You see it, Ace, you're in.
Unless mine is lagging behind a ton, which is
what are you talking about
It's
now?
been on there for ages. Right beneath me. If you look beneath me, it says Ace and it says all that crap on there.
I've got ads, so I can't.
Oh, you're good, man. All right. So, anyways, but continue. I just thought it was funny. So,
What?
back
I'm
to
not. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about, but sure.
Sias Novak in Roll20 chat blooped Ace.
Yeah, it's in
Roll20 chat. You see it, right? Right, Anno?
I see it fine. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Here,
in roll
right?
20, I was looking at Twitch.
So the words that start with "you're an artist" in the pilot seat are invisible to me on Chrome, but visible to me.
Oh, that's
so therefore
hilarious.
Chat in
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you mean.
If you turn
Okay.
on dark mode, it goes invisible for some reason.
Yeah.
I have dark
So
mode
weird.
though.
Yeah. Either way.
But
So
I-
continuing.
whatever,
Sorry,
yeah.
I just came to that realization. So distracted ADHD. So they walk you through
Oh
the
yeah,
ship.
there it is on stream now. That's weird that it wasn't there before for me.
So you walk through the ship and you can see like the tight quarters and the fact that it's literally one bedroom for the for the four of you that happen to be there, and the one bedroom for the four of you happens to have two beds on it, so it's similar to like Jake's quarters back when he was on the Telek. Anyways, so you guys are able to kind of like, get familiar with the space, so on and so forth, go over to the ship, power up different systems, get familiar with them, everything's comfortable, blah blah blah. At this point, like this is where you could see over in like the docking area, that's where your loadout locker is, and you can see like all the different weapons. So more or less your characters weren't just given like a sidearm and a rifle, which is fairly common for a lot of things. It's more or less like if you will, your wish list being fulfilled for what kind of weapons you have on there. So your Omni tools are upgraded state of the art. Anno, very quickly, you can take the various different viruses and hacking protocols and whatnot that you've designed, very quickly adapt for the new Omni tool and the upgrades that happen to be on there. Very little coding or fixes that you need to make, or debugging, I should say, to make it function. All the weapons that your characters were kind of hoping to have would be on there. Jake, your armor happens to have additional loadout points, because I'm pretty sure it's a class feature of yours, with like the extra weapons or whatever on you, including your Omni tool having the grenade synthesizing feature that you've been looking into and have put in a considerable number of hours of training into learning how to use. All that kind of stuff. It's like they took your profile and they squeezed out a wish list and then checked off pretty much every box, right? So,
imagine
it's almost like you made
extra,
characters.
Yeah. So I imagine mine has like the extra projectors for the tech armor and stuff all over it as well.
Yep. So you can imagine all because of course it's like a shell that you're wearing when you're wearing this like powered armor. You have almost like hex shaped like nodules on it that literally are just to emit an additional field beyond the basic shields or whatever. Yeah. And your shields, your shield fields, like the generators for those, they tend to be hidden in certain parts of your body that are harder to hit. So like your armpits and stuff like that, like areas that like are generally pretty well protected. That's going to be like where your shield generator fields are. So you can imagine for your armor, because you have like the additional tech barrier or whatever things that you can do, you have like little wires that kind of like run up and give almost this like cool neon feature in different areas that connect to extra, like I said, hex shaped, blah, blah, blah. So you can see the full loadout and everything that's on there. They're, Taurian military designed and made and so on and so forth. So it's there. You can see that your comms, of course, are going to be baseline encrypted to specific Taurian channels, et cetera, et cetera. You're informed that the comms might be a little bit shaky at greater distances. So if you're staying within, because they're not like, because you're not using towers, it's like directly to one another, right? So it's going to be a little bit shaky at greater distances. So if you go further than say 100 miles from one another, or however that converts in kilometers from one another, they'll start to get like a degree of like almost like staticky. If you go over 200 miles or convert that to kilometers from one another, it'll still pick up, but it'll be that like it'll be very, very loose, in which case you want to switch to almost like a Morse code style. If you're further than say, 400 or 500 miles from each other, you're probably not even going to pick each other up. And the reason for that being is because you want to stick within frequencies that are not going to be easily detected by the Geth. Normally, that wouldn't be that much of a concern. You can go, around a planet and still be able to connect with one another, right? Because normally you have either a satellite in space or the ship will stay in space and act as the triangulator of your communications or whatever it is. So you can more or less go from effectively one half of the planet, triangulate to the other half. But if a third person's on the other side of the planet, there's no reflection. And you're not exactly about to slice into, what are they called?
Geth satellites.
Yeah,
that'd be a bad idea.
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because, hey, Anno, you might need to. So
I'm confident, but I do not trust the dice.
Like the thing about I imagine Geth satellites is there's no such thing as an unmanned Geth satellite, because the Geth routines would be in the satellite itself, as if it was manned.
Yeah, we are Legion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
the satellite is a Geth. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So that being said, you are, kind of walk through. You're made familiar with everything. Eventually, you get into the next day will come where your characters are finally able to go. Oh, I wanted to do the introduction. So after that stuff goes on, another point in time, the intercom will come over and it'll be kind of like giving a tutorial to each of your characters as you're walking through procedures. So as you sit down into the cockpit, it'll say, welcome.
Move your camera.
It'll say, I don't have specific ranks set up, which is dumb of me. I should go grab ranks. I forgot that they actually use English words for like ranks of the Taurian structure, which is like weird. They should have made up Taurian words, but either way. So just for the sake of argument, we could change it for next session. It'd be like, welcome, Corporal, what's your name? Novik.
Just use the pattern one, since it's already Roman-like.
Yeah. And expansive. So it's welcome, Corporal Novik. I see through your profile that you have had extensive training, including a recent brushing on how it is to fly the Hierarch ship. And it kind of like walks you through like the basics. And there are areas where you're like, skip tutorial, and you're going to skip through a couple of things if you want to. But the skip is going to be like annoying, like a Windows feature, where it's like you have to skip each one. You can't skip the whole tutorial. It's like one step at
It's
a
also
time.
like skip. Are you sure you want to skip? Yes. Skip. Are you sure you want to skip? Yes.
So the reason why I'm describing this scenario is because you can imagine all of your characters are going through this with your own stupid, annoying thing. And this brings us to eventually Sci-Fi would be like, you hear her from like a different room and be like, damn it, Beta, I've been on this vessel dozens of times. I know how to do my job. And it would respond saying, Sivatasar Vas Mawal. My name is Vi Betia. That's what I called you. Beta. Because you're still just a test. And all tests must be thorough. And then like continues to go through the tutorial phase, and you can hear like the bickering going back and forth. But more or less your characters realize the VI's name is Betia, nicknamed Beta. Cool. Jumping forward to the next step.
Yeah, Valevius will just mutter on his breath. No wonder the guests came out the way they came.
Oh, fantastic.
Apple doesn't fall.
Yeah.
The chip doesn't fall too far from the circuit board.
I asked the VI to run the tutorials again with the Sci-Fi.
You mean ask it to redo the tutorials?
Yeah.
That's funny. You can absolutely, yeah. Oh, hi, Neil.
Hey.
Yeah, hey Neil, we replaced you with a better European.
Or as Otto pointed out while we were on break, he goes, am I the first non-native English speaking person on your streams? I had to think for a second. I was like, no, wait. I did Mass Effect once before with Rick, who's not native English speaking, right? Like English is a second language. It's hilarious that both Mass Effect campaigns had, okay, nice. Wow.
Right wing? Okay.
Uh,
I mean, I guess Mass Effect is all about inclusivity, right?
yeah, that's right. I like just being outnumbered as the only American. So, and I put Australians here. That way what I say isn't even that offensive. So, like, they're just like, it's all right, mate. That's what I say to my mom. Me mom. Sorry, it's me, not my.
You
To me,
have
mom.
us on here so you have the freedom to say cunt.
That's one of the reasons. My wife, that's her favorite word. She thinks it's hilarious. So,
Imam? Or what do you
no,
mean?
cunt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wife thinks it's hilarious. She's like, it's stupid. It's just a body part. It's like saying ass. You know? She's like, if I can call somebody a dick, you can call somebody a cunt. I'm like,
Penis.
You're not wrong. yeah. Anyways, so back to you actually want to kind of like RP it, right? Go ahead, Jake.
VI.
Yes, Captain Nix.
Can you run the tutorials again with Sci-Fi?
Siva has a degree of experience in training over the navigation systems. Is there an immediate concern?
Not immediate, but we want to be prepared. So
She is navigation,
best
right?
to
Oh no, she's SSC. She's the scannings. My apologies. She's the research one. Continue. I'm sorry.
I heard her skipping some of the tutorials. I just want to make sure you get them.
Indeed, I'll be more than happy to re-engage the tutorials from the beginning for Sivatasar Vas Mawal. I would like to inform you that you also had a degree of skipped tutorials happening from Corporal Silas Novik. Would you like to have his start from the beginning as well? Mind you, you're in the cockpit. He's right there next to you.
I just look at him and say, yes.
he's just like sighs and turns back to like the front of the ship. Just like, okay, let's do this.
Oh, that's awesome. And so all of a sudden she goes, screen went blank. Seriously, did a circuit What? After like a minute or so of like, you can imagine like pressing a button, she'll come by the cockpit and say, I'm going to be taking a break by the refresher. Does anybody need anything?
I'm fine, thank you.
From the refresher?
What is their coffee?
Should get refreshments.
Do they have a coffee?
Get refreshments.
Okay.
Yeah, they do have a caffeine thing. Yeah.
Just imagining somebody
I'll take,
going to
Yeah.
going
We'll
to the
just
toilet.
Sipping from the toilet bowl.
I'm going to the toilet. Can I get you some?
We'll say coffee for the sake of this, so we don't have to figure out what word it is. But I'll just say I'll take a coffee. As he's like sitting there, redoing his goddamn thing. Like,
she'll nod and like head out and come back and whatever. At this point,
notably, he wouldn't like turn around. He would like just gesture over his shoulder and continue the tutorial.
Yep. Oh, actually, you know what? That being said, because you're focused on it, should look over and say, "Yours too, huh?"
Oh yeah.
And then she'll walk out the door, to go for a walk to calm down for a second. So any RP amongst your characters before, again, we do a little skip ahead?
Not really,
so
not
that-
for
that
me. I
was
mean,
good.
it's yeah.
Yeah. We had a good little back and forth. I think that's good.
Yeah. Valevius
Okay.
probably has an auto script at this point to just skip tutorials.
Like
you know,
it tricks the thing into thinking that you're sitting there interacting with it while you've walked off.
yeah, like basically an auto clicker.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. The idea that you like quickly imported like a program that you already had set that acts as an auto clicker. It's like the VI immediately rejects it. We're gonna have you roll for this. Roll a hacking check.
Hey.
The VI immediately rejects it, and then you of course would do a quick like system diagnostic as to why the code didn't work. Make quick small adjustments, then replug it back in.
Is it electronics?
No, it's in the lower left hand corner of your sheet. I think it's called hacking.
Oh,
tools
hacking
or something like
tools, yeah.
that. 18.
Oh, damn.
All right. So with your 18 total, it's one of those things where it goes in there, it kicks it out two times, and finally on the third time you're like, God damn it, and you put it in there, and you can see it's kicking it out, and then like as it's kicking it back out, you quickly put like a second program in there just to like cause like a reshuffle or whatever, just almost like it jukes to the side of one of the electronic defenses, and then all of a sudden it like blinks twice and kicks in. And you can see it's like, and then as we enter this next, and then the thing you're going to, and from here you're gonna, and then maybe you like stand up, stretch your legs, and be like, I'm gonna go get a coffee too. Awesome. So
The next day, I'm just like, has everyone done their tutorials? VI.
and it'll respond saying, everybody has done their tutorials, though I will make notes that what the hell's his name? Well, again, Corporal, we'll just use for now. Corporal Valeus, whatever, Optimatus. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Valevius Optimatus, yeah.
Optimatos. Okay, so tomatoes. Like you're gonna make a pasta. Makes sense from the Italian. So did in the second pass through did skip through each of the tutorial phases, but I will reinform you that showed proficiency during the unskippable tests. It's 100, and then you see the remarks comes in. It's 100% across the board because he also hacked in to give him auto results. So,
It was very informative.
he's the only one, by the way, that got
Seems he's,
100 on everything.
Seems he's rather competent.
Shall I make it
Thank
run
you,
through the
VI.
tutorials again?
Not needed at this time.
At this point, Captain, I would like to inform you that my docked protocols will be disengaged after the undocking procedure has been completed. in which case my navigation protocols will take over. At that point in time, I will be... Who wants to boot it? Who wants to boot it? Get rid of it.
Oh,
There we go. All right. So at that point in time, my navigation protocols will take over, and systems will be diverted to making sure that we have the safest flight possible. From there, I will be moving into my general use protocols. I am a fully fleshed out VI suite that is capable of interacting with you and assisting you through the various different ship systems. While I do have a focus on navigation, I am capable of handling any one of the ship systems that you require me to do so.
Good to know. Thank you.
She says, oh yeah, because the what are they called? Taurians wouldn't require a hollow display of the VI. You can imagine that's much more of an Asari thing, which is why the VIs all look kind of Asari-ish, you know?
yeah.
So there's no like visual display of this thing or whatever. It's just like a voiceover or text. Anyways, it says, until such time, I will fall into hibernation, awaiting your command. And then at that point, you guys have like all of your details. You have your weapons, you have your loadouts, you have everything there. Your systems are in place. We can embark on your first mission if you are ready.
Well, good to go.
Novik is eager and willing.
Perfect. So then you are able to again embark on your mission, able to disengage. From this point in time, you can see that there's, as you're literally going out there, the system scanner is going to be the Quarian. She would report to you as you're going through this disengagement procedure, which, by the way, Tesh, you don't do anything. Unless you're manually flying, the ship literally takes care of itself for releasing you, just kind of like checking stuff, going over. You're more a Homer Simpson at the nuclear reactor, right? Like you're just looking at gauges, but realistically have your feet up on the counter, eating a donut and spilling coffee on your shirt, right?
I'm there for when the fun stuff happens.
Yeah. But you also you might want to take over manual flights for, X, Y, Z or whatever, right? So anyways, so the ship leaves. You'll hear from Sifa over comms, because not everybody's inside the cockpit. So the way that Taurian ships work, let me spell this out. The way that Taurian ships work, unlike human ships which we're accustomed to, is the actual helm of the ship is not in like the front of the ship with a big Mylar glass that looks out like you're accustomed to seeing in most sci-fi, like Star Trek is most notable.
A much smarter thing. It's like in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the most central, most protected part of the ship. So even if the ship is completely destroyed, like the actual metals around the helm of the ship are some of the most robust and protective areas, because you're controlling a ship electronically anyways. You don't need to
I always
literally look out.
Like the sci-fi is when they actually put the cockpit in the middle, because at the point you have like view screens, there is no point to having it up the front of the ship at all. Like that is super dangerous.
Because view screens are going to be more or less telescopes that send a digital signal to a screen, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So either way, you are so you're in like the central part that's here. And this spot that happens to be here is just because the way that RP went, even though it kind of makes sense for everybody to be in the same spot, because the way RP went had you guys kind of in different rooms. We'll have it slightly separated out. So you have the pilot is going to be the pilot, and the weapons will be in one room. They'll be in the helm side by side, so they can literally like interact of how what's doing, so on and so forth. You'll have the scanning room is going to be the same room as the AWS suite. So that's almost like near an engineering area for where Ano and and navigation will be up by you as well, Tesh. So those two would be in a room. So you'd be in a room with Sifa a lot of the time there, Tesh. Sorry, Ano. And then you'd have like the other room would be like the living quarters and so on and so forth. And the actual engine room will be at its own spot, kind of in the back of the ship, and so on and so forth. It's like Dark Core drive or whatever. So it's a mass element zero
it's a
drive.
Very cramped ship, but
yeah, which is fine.
Yep.
That's just because of the
At this point, I
retrofit.
imagine most of the ships would be cramped-ish. This would just be a little bit more so.
Yeah, well, I mean, Torian ships are functionality, not comfort, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's more of a submarine than a aircraft carrier. So, either way, so you are, as you take off, like I said, the VI like runs like the disembark systems and pulling up on her display, which you'd be able to see over her shoulder if you cared to, Ano. She would just say, looks as though everything is going underway. Scanners are picking up the dogfight practicing that is happening nearby. That is supposed to be the decoy on hands. If everybody's ready, we can make our increase our engine speeds, and we can find our way into the Perseus Vale. I will give you a small heads up, Silas, that I worked closely with the VIs in helping to plot a course that should make this relatively mundane and routine flight path for you through the Vale. But there are still decent-sized celestial objects that can exist inside there, so you do want to be mindful of that.
Will do. I'm looking forward to putting it through our paces.
Okay. And then I imagine with Jake giving like the commands to do so, you would kind of jump into it. Cool. Inside the Vale, we're just going to go ahead and have a quick little roll here for the flight system. So oh, I did that wrong. I was supposed to keep higher, so that's the 19 plus 5 is the 24. So the going through, like following along the flight path that was previously determined and using her like scanners and so on and so forth, very quickly able to identify any objects that might be of a concern while you're in there. Now, it's important to note that the Veil specifically reduces the range of scanning and whatnot to make it so you can still scan while you're in the Veil a decent area around you. It's just you can't scan through the Veil entirely, and it's not equally deep across. There's some parts of the Veil is rather thin and other parts where it's much thicker and so on and so forth. And you guys are going to be going through one of the thicker portions because the thinner portions are where they tend to send a probe through just to get through as quickly as possible. And, so you're coming from a different angle, and you've picked this up when you looked up the flight path and everything. Either way, all is said and done, and that's kind of put in. You can also see, like, as you're traveling through the Veil, with the input that's going in through her utilizing the scanners, she plugs that over to the VI who's taking care of navigation, makes slight adjustments to your flight path, and then you're actively flying the ship at this point, allowing the VI to focus on navigation. So you'll see, like, imagine if you're driving with GPS on, and as you're driving, you keep missing your turn, and it keeps re-navigating and so on and so forth. It almost looks like that, but it puts a display on the screen for you for, like, the immediate flight path to follow, the potential alternative flight paths to follow, and the parameters of those, like, almost like green, yellow, red, or whatever it might be, to stay within those paths in a safe zone. You make your decisions as needed, and you follow along those paths. As for the piloting itself, because the VI and the scanner people are doing it so well, you actually don't even have to worry. This is a rote action for you. You can follow along this path, no problem. That being said, it's as soon as you come through the Veil on the other side that you immediately have to worry about the other details. So as soon as you come through the Veil on the other side, this is actually going to fall to Ano's character. So Ano's character is going to have to make sure that the defensive procedures are immediately put in. You don't want to instantly have scanners going out and looking for anything that might be in the area. You want to deflect any scanners that might be coming in. You want to hide before you look, right? Almost imagine a turtle head popping.
It's like you want to turn off the torch before you enter the dark room that might have things in it.
So what I'm gonna do is basically roll a 1, so we have to immediately turn back around.
Please, no, please.
Like, oh, Well, I guess that was it.
So funny enough, actually, Anna, before you roll, remember how Tesh spent like a whole day or two brushing up on his thing, and I said the first time he flies with the ship, he gets to have advantage. Remember how you skipped your tutorials and like chose not to get familiar with the ship and slacked your responsibilities?
Oh,
Should
no,
I?
If it isn't the consequences of my actions.
You're rolling this one with disadvantage, baby.
Oh no! I didn't mean that much. Oh fuck.
Let's see.
You got this, Anno, I believe.
What is this? What is it still hacking or?
It's your AWS.
Do we have
I mean, it's the same.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know if he added the thing to everyone's sheet or not. Looks like he did. So that's good.
I don't think there are like in the system there are any spells that really aid with doing stuff. It's more combat oriented more than anything.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are very few that are for outside of combat. They left the powers. I mean, there are a couple engineering ones, I think, but they left it very combat focused. They more or less just said if you're rolling dice, it's skills or combat. If you want any RP, that's up to you. But the dice are for combat, and that's it. And skills, RP, meh.
What does this do? Sorry, I'm just double checking if I have anything that aids me. Okay, that's for other stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything. I mean, yeah, I don't think a drone would help either.
Always fun getting familiar with your systems.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like you wouldn't have skipped everything. Like basically, it's the tutorial. Like, oh, when you start a game, like this is how you move your camera. This is like how you walk. But yeah, it's fair. It's fine.
It started off that way, but then it got much more complicated, of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Damn, nice.
And this is why he skipped it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how the dice shows a 4, or you didn't roll a 4. I think you rolled an 18. Or
I actually
15?
rolled a net 20 on the other one. Oh,
I don't see his. Oh no, never mind. The dice is there. What? Yeah. Why did it say?
Oh
4?
no, wait.
That's...
Are those his dice, or is that somebody else's?
wait, maybe
no,
I didn't activate them.
Yeah, you
I
don't
didn't.
have dice on.
I didn't activate them.
Yeah, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, that was your roll, Scott.
That's why. Okay, I was like, wow, that's weird. But sweet, you got a good roll. So as soon as you go out there, immediately you get the defenses turned on, and you guys are now kind of floating through or are navigating through the opening part of the Perseus of the actual system over there. So the sector of space over there on the other side of the Perseus Veil. You're floating on the other side, looking for just seeing if there's anything that immediately discovered you. And right off the bat, Anno, your character gets all the defenses up, everything you have to do, so on and so forth. And what you end up able to analyze the data with the 20 total, not only did you successfully deflect any sensors that might be able to pick you up, but beyond that, you're actually able to detect that there are, in fact, active searches over here. But these are like long-range light pings, right? These are things that are like, oh, okay, cool. This is a relatively simple system that more or less like, you're like, I probably could have deflected this in my sleep. This wasn't that that difficult to deflect. But you beat the DC by so much, you're able to detect the fact that the ping even came off of your ship in the first place. So you're kind of like, oh, what's that? You're kind of like looking through the code or whatever that pops up. And that's what you see. So feel free to share that with the rest of the party as you see fit.
Yeah, I mean, Olivius will just look it over and say, well, They are scanning the area, but I mean it's nothing serious. It's more, well, I guess as everybody would do it in their own system. So, but we are safe for now.
Perfect.
Captain, did you want me to go ahead and try to scan back and see the size and distance of what is doing the scanning? If it's something as simple as like a sensor or a probe, or if there's an actual ship or station nearby, or should we just proceed quietly?
Well, I just want to make you aware, Captain, that any scan we do, of course, run the risk of being detected.
Yes, I would agree with that statement. I think we should just run quietly.
She nods, and she nods, but only Ano sees. And and then we'll kind of like that defers to you, Tesh. So Tesh, it's your character who, once again, the navigation path. Once you guys are here, and you're kind of like floating through for like not aimlessly, but semi-directed at first, flying through space as like you. What's the word I'm looking for here? Passive scans are being done. Nothing actively scanning for other ships. Passively collecting the data of where you are exactly, that you came out on the other side, and so on and so forth. Doing like star alignment navigation and et cetera, et cetera. And then eventually a flight path is put together for you. This flight path has a couple of different options that I want you guys to decide from. One path is like, shall we say, the long way round. It will bring you to like through space over to the Orc Cloud, as previously discussed, taking kind of like the most cautious and slowest path to get there. And it'll keep you into a portion of the Orc Cloud that you believe will be among the safest and least looked after based off of, again, prior information. The second option for you would be as direct a path as possible, not just for speed, but also to land the ship as close in the Orc Cloud as possible, to based off like how the planet is moving and where the Orc Cloud's moving and so on and so forth to one another, to have the most direct path to Ranuk when it's time to get to the third, that portion of the phase, right? And then the third option that you have is kind of like a combination of the two. You want to like get either to that far path directly or the close path indirectly. You know what I mean? So like a mix up.
So we have like two. We have where we're going to end up. We have like two spots. One more direct for the next one, and then one that's safer for this one. And we can either go to each of them being direct or long way around for each.
Correct. Yeah. And before Jake chimes in, I imagine you can give your input and whatnot.
I'm probably going to recommend that, given the limited time that we can be quiet, probably making sure we land somewhere where we can get a direct path is a good idea. How we get there is, there's two options and we'll be good for both. I think that's my opinion, but whatever you say goes.
You are flying the ship. I'll tend to rely on your skills for this one then. Bring us there quick.
Okay. So we're taking the direct and quick one by the sounds of it. I think that's get there as fast as possible.
That is what you suggested, correct?
He was suggesting
both of. I was suggesting the options of the option of the closer landing zone, but either way of going quick or long way around to the quicker landing zone is what I. So like if you think of it, we have four options: close, direct, close, long way, long, direct, long way. I said either of the close options is what I recommended.
Okay. Well, we are testing. Why don't we put this thing to the test?
Good idea. Find out what we're up against immediately. I like it.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Locking
you're
in.
going to go direct. Gotcha. Cool. So it's important to note that while you're making this flight there, at first the path, once you select it, like once you make the selection on the screen or what have you, that the path is pretty static. Like you know what you got to do, and almost the entire way there it stays static. It's at last like 90 or even just like 8%. I was gonna say 90 to the last 10%, maybe 8% of the journey. So you can see the path starts doing that recalculating as it goes to choose the best one. Because now that you're closer, there's more. Right? Like it has to like pick up what is where and what is dangerous and so on and so forth. It is important to note that when you're dealing with the vastness of space, we always interpret like fly through the asteroid field as being like there's not really, unless you're like in the rings of Saturn, you don't really fly through an asteroid field that looks like what you see in space.
Even the rings of Saturn, they're like really far apart. The things in it's just because on the scale of Saturn, it looks like they're all one, but like up close, there's gaps between them. Fairly
for
big
for the bigger ones. The smaller ones are make up a bigger blanket. But yeah, either way, there's still you as a person could absolutely you could drive a school bus through Saturn and never bump into a piece of dust.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Fun fact, they found out that asteroids are pretty much made of just out of dust and not actually rock.
That's cool.
So like, what like it's just like basically space mining is basically not what you're gonna see like asteroid base and stuff like that.
Comets, I think, are the only thing we've seen with like stuff on that might be worth it, right? Because it's like ice and various frozen things which might be worth it.
There's also, I can't remember what they're called, but more or less like exomoons, like asteroids that are like could be a moon but aren't attached to a planet.
Like,
instead it's just like
Nessus.
It's what like I mean there are rogue planets and stuff like that. Yeah.
But ice is important because you need water. Because if you're talking about ice being H2O ice. But I say we just go get all the diamonds. Let's go. What planet is that? Uranus? All the diamonds up Uranus?
The only thing you will do with that is basically what the Spaniards did when they found America and just inflate the price of gold.
There was a planet.
Inflation's what we do best, baby.
There was a planet I saw this a couple of years ago. There was a planet we found that, based on the current information, we believe it rains diamonds.
Yeah,
I mean, we could.
So interesting and so terrifying at the same time.
It's either Neptune or Uranus. I'm not sure which
one. No.
It
It's pretty far out.
No,
it was like an actual like planet.
No, it's in our solar system.
Oh, really? I thought there was an actual planet.
Yeah. Hold on. Actually, I think it's a moon around Jupiter. Actually, I think it's a moon around Jupiter.
Yeah,
really?
Come to think of it,
it's one of the moons. I mean,
it's not Europa. It's one of the other ones.
I mean, Jupiter has like 60 moons or something.
Oh, you know what? I just remembered, Tesh. There's actually a Magic School Bus episode of that too. Like with the new Magic School Bus with the girl from.
Yeah, no, it is. This must be something else I'm thinking of, because there was a planet that I remember seeing a couple of years ago that had something to do with diamonds that was an extreme.
So one of the first exoplanets we've ever found, they believe that the core is 30% diamond. So like 30% of the entire planet's core, they believe, is to be diamonds because of the
maybe that's what
composition
it is.
of the planet. Yeah.
Maybe I mixed the two in my mind, because I remember doing diamonds, and I remember something where it rains diamonds.
Yeah, it's fun to think, like, because I sometimes hear of people like talking about space exploration and colonizing stuff like that, and it's actually kind of surreal saying like one of the most valuable resources in the universe is actually wood.
Yeah.
Because there's so little of it.
Yep. And you can't 3D print wood, Nope.
Oh, I think it's one that rains molten iron. I think that's the one I was thinking of.
Oh, that's
which
scary.
Is terrifying.
I mean, there's also a moon that basically the wind speeds are so high that it basically rips your skin off you.
No, yes, that's terrifying. No, I found it. I know what I confused. There's one that has showers of molten glass. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that is terrifying. HD 189733B.
That's some.
That's where an episode of Warhammer 40k plays.
I imagine so. Yeah.
All right, let's see how we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry to bore you, Jack.
I've come to realize that I actually am the one in this campaign that has to keep us on track.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Daddy Jake in the house. Spank me. All right, so we So Tesh, the navigation is being put through for you, kind of grabbing this stuff in, figuring it out. But the problem is you're going to have to use your instincts based off of what you understand. The navigation is telling you like the safest flight path between A and B based off of the celestial bodies that happen to be out there, whether they be satellites or asteroids, comets, whatever might be out there. Any debris it can pick up, to make sure that nothing happens while you're kind of like traveling through. But you have to make like a judgment call based off of where you think scanning may come off of and so on and so forth. So I'm going to have you make a flight through the orc cloud, a flight check to bring you to the orc cloud that's going to be safe. Before you do that, I'm actually going to go to Valevius one more time about being scanned. What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Because you can imagine they would have, again, more scanners on the outside of their orc cloud for something that's actually coming into their solar system, right? So this is going to be Anno. This is not with disadvantage that's going on over here. You know that there's going to be more active scanning here than there would be the kind of like passive simple one that's over there. So I imagine you're just going to roll.
I was real terrified when it was rolling on that 5 towards the 1. I was like, oh no.
So what this comes down to is you don't notice you getting scanned by any stretch, Anno, but so you know that there was nothing that pinged back, no concerns, nothing that you noticed deflecting, which means that the system is doing its job. It's not like a critical success or whatever it is where you pick up additional detail, but as far as you can tell, the system is doing its job, or there is nothing out there in the first place. So things are going well.
Which is improbable, but yeah.
Tesh, this means going to you, the pressure is alleviated of trying to confuse signals by flying close to things like large bodies or whatever to again, confuse stuff. So this should be a relatively easy check for you going into the orc cloud.
And
I guess this is going to be your advantage roll.
Yeah. Let's
By the way,
let's do that then.
Every time you say that, I always hear orc. Oh! I always hear orc cloud.
I need to trust the pilot.
So, and finally, you bring the ship over to a spot. You end up finding like a decent sized bit of asteroid or whatever that's inside the orc cloud for you to go to, and you're able to navigate comfortably down and into a spot where you're like, okay, this is it was a more dangerous one to get to, but it was good sized. We could eject all of our heat here, and we could stay here for a period of time without having to worry about it. You do have grav simulators or like grav fields generators on your ship, so it doesn't matter what orientation this thing is flipping and whatnot. But the most important part is, God forbid they actively scan the orc cloud. Like we, in our planet, as low technology as we are on Earth, we scan every satellite, every known satellite out in space that we can discover, including trying to scan and track things that might be traveling through or come from the asteroid field, so on and so forth. You can imagine something as advanced as the Geth, which live out in space and so on. They probably track all of whatever an asteroid field might be inside of their thing, and potentially even the orc cloud as well. So the reason why I bring this up is because when you touch down on that, you touch down so fucking smoothly that even the orientation, the movement and whatnot of this is not thrown off by your touching down, but would be thrown off by the change of mass, because obviously it's now heavier with something attached to it, right? So you can imagine like the landing part kind of almost has like a drill in or whatever that grabs onto this bit of ice that's here to hold on.
I do
to
that
it.
thing where I like match the rotation as we're like coming down.
Yes, exactly. It's like a perfect lineup. It's like not like watching me play ED because then I just like
yeah. Oh, the hardest part about that game is goddamn docking.
You're like the station spins around you and you're like, I know why, but stop.
So he'll like as soon as they like touch down, he just sort of perfect.
Okay. Now I'll let you guys RP for a second.
And
Yeah,
we're
I'll
down.
turn to you and say, that was impressive.
Thank you. She flies well. He'll like give like the console a little like pat.
I really did pick the right Turian for the job.
Thank you, sir. It's
If I may, sir, but you didn't pick anyone.
What?
Did you say I picked?
I said they.
Oh,
They.
they. I
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I turn around to you and you said it, and I'm like, what?
Disregard.
VI,
Yes, Captain.
can you please give Valavius some more tutorials to do?
There are no new tutorials to do. Would you like to begin his training on a different ship system?
No.
Like Malavius was already on the Malavius was already on the enter button just to activate the stream.
Okay.
Are we free to move about?
Yeah, about your ship, obviously not to.
Yeah, no, I know. He's saying to Nick. So we're free to move about.
Oh, I believe so. Well done.
Thank you. And I assume there is, judging by the pictures, there is somewhere that has like a viewport that we can look out, right? He would
yes.
be going. He would be going to that and just sort of staring out at for a bit and just taking in the new space that's around them.
Captain, when you are ready, I would like to go over some details of the next phase in your missions log, or of your mission, details.
No time like the present.
Captain, how familiar are you with the Tikkun system?
That's a good question. Probably not familiar.
Then allow me to give you a few details that may be pertinent. The Tikkun system is a system that has 4 planets on it. The planet in question, the one that was primarily set to investigate, is the first planet, the closest orbits to the star. That is Ranok. None of the planets have moons, so it does make a attempts to fly in and use an extra celestial body a bit more difficult. Making our flight path in towards Ranok will be a bit difficult as we do not want to be discovered. Fortunately, we do have at least one evacuation point for the heat along our path. Consider it a small test of how silent our system can run before we make our final jump. The 4th planet in the Tikkun system is a planet by the name of Haza. Haza as a planet, is a gas giant that at one point in time was used for helium-3 mining. That mining has since been, as far as we understand, completely declined post Geth and Quarian War. As far as we know, the Geth have not re-entered into that planet to continue the helium-3 mining. Using that planet as a quick jump point from the Oort cloud into the actual planetary alignment, into the actual planetary orbits, would be a great place for us to exhaust ourselves and to begin a new jump from there. It would also give us an opportunity to look into the details of Geth helium-3 mining. Helium-3 being the primary element used in faster-than-light travel outside of use of mass relays. This would give us a deep understanding as to whether or not the Geth intend to do much more expansion beyond just the one system that they are currently occupying. From there, we can go into more details. And that's like pending.
Yep.
The third planet from the sun goes by the name of Kadi. Kadi as a planet has a low gravity and Kadi as a planet has a low gravity, but it has a low gravity and has little to surface temperature is negative 93 Celsius, has a low gravity and can be another location for us to evacuate our chamber of heat if need be. However, due to its very low magnetic field and its very minimal atmosphere, it is possible that our systems would be detected. The low temperature of the planet means that we would have to very slowly eke out the heat from our systems, which gives more time for them to detect us. A quick evacuation would make us stand out like a star in a dark night. My suggestion would be to bypass this world and continue on towards Ranok. However, if you wish to do further investigation, or if you wish to continue small hops, that might be the next best bet for you. The second planet from the sun goes by the name of Aras. Aras, despite being further from the sun than Ranok, happens to be warmer due to its dense atmosphere. As a matter of fact, its gravity is exceedingly light, being less than half of that of Palavin. Give me 1 second the temperatures on Adas are a bit great. They are sitting at 73 degrees Celsius. That means that we would have to slowly evacuate the heat on our systems, but also actively evacuate them, as we would need to bring our temperatures down as low as possible, and those temperatures are sitting higher than where we would want to for a final jump. The perk of utilizing this planet is the extremely dense atmosphere makes it difficult for our sensors to easily detect us, and the high temperature makes it difficult for them to detect our heat signatures, while also providing us a very small jump from there back to Ranok. If you are choosing to skip the third planet, this might be a good opportunity for us to take a small break prior to the arrival on Ranok, which will have the most defenses around it. Alternatively, you can choose to skip all 3 planets and go for a straight shot too. I am actively trying to calculate that path. You let me know if this is being done in vain, or if I should continue these calculations to present all options and potentials of success and failure based off of my readings.
Present all options, please.
And I will continue to do those calculations for you. I have prepared for you a file for all digestible information, including small videos explaining the details of these planets so that you may make your decision. It will take me a few hours' time to properly evacuate the heat of our ship in a low potential to be detected parameters, and to finish compiling the data for you.
Thank you, VI.
And she says, going dormant, and falls down.
Yeah.
Oh
Cool.
boy.
If I
So
may,
that
Captain, Bolivis will speak up and say, I don't think we have any time limits. So I think patience in this case is key. While at the same time, staying more also allows them to scan us more. But it's a trade-off. As long as I can keep them off of us, then we should be fine. Otherwise, I don't see why we should rush everything. There's nothing forcing us to do so for now.
I would tend to agree with that. Here's what I'm thinking. Let me know how you guys see it. We land on the 4th planet. Check for any signs that the Geth have started mining operations again, or at least what the current status of the helium-3 processing facilities are. Then we skip 3 and then go to the second one, which is the 73 degrees Celsius one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then we jump to there, vent out the heat there as well before making the final jump to our destination. I think the risk of the 3rd planet may be too high.
What was the 3rd one?
The cold planet with little atmosphere. So it's very easy to detect on, especially with us venting heat.
Chiming in, Sifa would say, I did a lot of studying of Quarian history. It's something that I had always found interesting and went back and brushed up on before this mission. One of the things that, as far as I understand, the 3rd planet in question, Kadi, Kadi also was a place with fairly stable Lagrange points. It wouldn't surprise me if scanning over in that area, we find a considerable amount of debris that happens to have a mass of those Lagrange points, potentially even Geth stations themselves. It's certainly where we used to put probes and satellites and the like many years ago. So it is skipping the 3rd planet could have the benefits of avoiding the likelihood of being detected, as you suggested. But there is also one more potential. One of the most advanced telescopes that was produced by the Quarians prior to our interactions with the Citadel space, prior to our joining the Citadel races, the inevitable war, and so on, that also happens to sit at one of the Lagrange points around Kadi. We could potentially use that tool to look at Ranok and get further information before our inevitable landing there. It's an extra danger, but with a potential reward.
Remind me out of game what a Lagrange point is.
It's a point in space where the gravity of your planet and the gravity of the other celestial bodies, say the sun or whatever it is, happen to be neutralize each other. So it takes little to no energy to sit there with in a stable orbit.
Okay.
Yeah. It's where real life. It's where we usually put like our bigger satellites, like the most recent telescope went there. And
would we be able to maybe see if this telescope is still around from Hazza?
She nods and says, I can run an active scan to look into this. I know you had concerns about scans before, so she lets it kind of trail off from there.
What are the chances that the Geth are using the telescope?
It is fairly low tech. It was the most advanced one we made prior to joining with the Citadel races. So it would be lower tech that would be of interest to the Geth, but powerful enough to give us a considerable amount of information on a bright planet looking at its dark side.
And is this a station around the... I didn't get the planet's name. It's the one planet I didn't get.
Kadi.
It's a station around Kadi in orbit, is it?
Yes and no. While a station may be the word that we use, it is autonomous. We would be connecting into its mainframe and accessing the use of the satellite from there. We wouldn't be actively boarding it unless it needed a jump start.
The facility, though, would it be enough to hide, say, this ship? It could be one method of hiding ourselves in the ruins of the facility.
There's certainly enough debris that likely has collected around those Lagrange points, considering the amount of battles that happened here back in the day. It's possible we could hide amongst debris, but the facility itself is going to be too small to hide a ship. Satellites are rather slender. built much like a Taurian. It's all carapace and bones.
He would laugh at that.
If the station is offline and we reactivate it, could that be spotted?
Potentially. The hope is that it is functional and still active. I mean, when you put something in a Lagrange point, the idea is that you're never going to need to service it again, right? So there are solar arrays set to, provide energy for it beyond the active energy feed. There were other, more rudimentary means of powering the thing. I honestly don't recall if they used some sort of nuclear technology, fission, fusion, whatever it might be, but it was meant to power itself for centuries to come. I would have to scan to give you any more details.
How close
Short-range scans are probably... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So how close would we need to access it? How close would we need to be to access it?
She'll actually turn and look at Valivius for that. And for that, I actually want you to roll me an electronics check. And we're going to have to wrap up soon.
Yep.
Damn.
What do you roll? Oh,
You got
cool.
electronics
22.
covered.
Honestly, if you have a clean path, it is possible that you might be able to do it even from the fourth planet, from Haza called?
Yeah, Hazel.
Haza.
Okay.
Yeah, you might be able to do it from there.
Well, let us think about it for a moment. If I can interact with it correctly, I should be able to do it even from the fourth planet.
That would definitely eliminate some of the risk. Add some more,
I
of
think
course.
that's
But
what we should aim for then. I still think landing on the third is more risk.
I
versus
completely
reward.
agree. It's what I was worried about when I was asking distance.
Yes, we are playing a game of checks and balances. Perhaps I will try to do it once we land on the fourth, and if it turns out to be too dangerous, then I will stop immediately.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so fourth, second, first, but see if we can get into this thing from the fourth.
Shall I begin my scans to see if I can get any details for you?
Would it be less dangerous if you would scan from the fourth?
The shorter the range, the less likely the frequency will be picked up.
Then I would suggest that.
She nods. I'll see to it calibrations. I think everything should be ready to go in 6 days, 19 hours, and 48 minutes.
Anybody go
make it
board
so.
games? Cut.
In game a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, while the system does its cool down and whatnot, I'm gonna go and take a nap.
cool. Unless Jake says otherwise, which I imagine he wouldn't. Next session, let's say our goodbyes. Thank you everybody for coming by. I'm sorry that the beginning of the session was mostly us just kind of like drolling on about rules, and then there was lots of like
any new system, it's going to be like that.
it's also like drolling on about so many like background bits of information for everybody. Like, any questions? Because again, we're kind of establishing how things function and where people are, and then it goes much more smoothly as it goes on. So, but as technically speaking, your mission has already been considered a success. And you can head back now. The second part being like, if you were able to succeed on this one, this is a proof of technology. We're happy to go, so on and so forth. You can definitely return from there. You would only do the third part if you decide that it's worthwhile doing. But walking away after the second part is a true mission success, all objectives achieved. Now there's just bonus objectives if you care to do so, right? Which is cool. And you can make that decision if and when you get there. And then if you return back to your other ship in time, well, your plan is to be here in the Terminus system for a period of time. Then we can see what other missions can be done while you're in the Terminus system prior to returning home. Funny enough, actually, I called this opening of the campaign Servant of the People because for those of you that do not know, Geth is a Quarian word which, when translated to English, means Servant of the People.
I didn't catch that. I knew that too, and I didn't catch that. Damn it.
That's smart.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well
All right.
played. Well played.
Yeah, because it's a military campaign. It's like, yeah,
The
makes sense, right?
The second you said it, like the Geth, you started saying like talking about the Geth. I was like, oh fuck, it is.
Yeah. All right, cool. Awesome. So thank you guys very much. I will see you tonight over on Lost Initiative. Friday night should be Regicide. We should be good to go there. I'm just waiting to hear back from one person, but we should be good to go there for the next few weeks going on, and so on. And thank you all so much. And the long-awaited Patreon updates are becoming too. So see you guys very soon.
Maybe also a deer.
Well, that is so funny enough. That's something else that needs to. Yeah, I'll explain.